Hi everyone, Genty Belle here for Country Craft Creations and Genty Belle Designs. Thanks for joining me here on my channel. Today I am going to show you, I had shown a sneak peek of this fun Magic of Christmas double accordion style folio. Now we're going to use the paper for this, not cardstock. This is a super fun little gift and it will hold a lot of things. So this is my finished folio with the Magic of Christmas by Echo Park. And I am going to be doing the tutorial for you in the exclusive Country Craft Creations Sugar and Spice, which is adorable. So I finished this up. We have a chipboard embellished cover, some what I call rickrack. I'm not quite sure what it's called on the website, but it is available on the website. And I have a little bit of holly and some stuff here. And then I also have a closure using some of the seam binding. So the way this works, and mind you, this is not fully decorated on the inside. I just did the basics because this is basically my prototype. And like I said, I will be doing it in Sugar and Spice with this video. So when you open this up, you're going to have a waterfall on one side with a corner tuck spot. Now, this little corner is made like a picture corner out of scrap, and it just holds all those pages in nicely. So you have 5 waterfalls, and you can put them in all at the same time, or you can put them in separately. And it just kind of holds them down, so there's no need for a magnet or anything. And then the fun part is the middle. So this is why I'm calling this my double accordion. So accordion pages are always fun. And if you didn't want to do the jute string, which I've used here, you could do a belly band with a slide, like I've shown in some of my videos. You can do just paper with a magnet and make a belt, any way that you want to close this. But watch how this opens, and I hope I can get as much of this as possible on camera. So we're going to flip this first one over. We have a pocket, and then this here, and I'm going to embellish this further, and I will share a walkthrough on my channel when I finish embellishing this, because I will finish it. And this paper is absolutely adorable. So when you open this, you're going to open it up. And as you can see on the other side of that, we have a pocket here and 2 more pages. So in all on this accordion, you have 6 pages. Okay? And I'm trying to make sure I get that all in camera. Then we're going to open up this side, and this one starts with a pocket and a pocket on the back and a page. And then that one is going to lift up, and we have a pocket and a page. And when you go the other way, you have a page and a pocket. So in total, you have 12 rather large size pages to put pockets or anything you want. You could add flips and flaps to this. You can pretty much use your imagination and do whatever you want with this folio. As long as you do the pages this way, you can embellish them any way you like. On the back side here, what I did in the middle, I'm going to use this cute little Sugar and Spice paper to show you. So this is going to be a double pocket element. So we have a pocket here, and we have a pocket here. And then as a triple, we have a pocket here, which we can slip something in that goes down and slips into the pocket. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with the Sugar and Spice one yet, but I will show you. Now, this can be folded all together like I first showed. So it's like this. But it also can be folded. Another neat way to fold this, let me get these open, is you fold in this one first, just to that first page at the first fold, and then you do the same with this one and fold this one up and in, and you get this fun little, whoops, I did that wrong. How did I do that? Let's see here. So I want to go here and here, and then that shows your white or whatever color you're using for matte cardstock on the side. It's kind of nice looking and clean. So let's dive into how this is made. We'll start with the cover and then the pages. So we're going to take, to make the cover, we will need a 10 by 8 piece of craft cardstock, which is what I'm going to use. These are my pages. So I need my, over here, I have a 10 by 8 piece of the Artisan Craft. And I also have a 5.5 by 8. And this is going to be an extension, okay? So you're going to take your 10 by 8 and put it into your scoreboard on the 10 side. So your 10 lines up here, your 8 lines up down here. Excuse me. And we are going to score this. So we want to first score the 10 by 8 at 1/2 inch. Okay, and then 6.5 inches and 7 inches. Okay, then you're going to pull in your 5.5 by 8 sheet, put it in here at the 5.5, the 8 across, and the 8 going up and down. And we are going to score this one at 1/2 inch. Let's see, I want this on the right edge, right? I'm trying to see my work here. Can't quite remember. 1/2 inch here. And that's just going to be how we attach this. So then what we're going to do is we're going to bring this in. This is actually going to become our cover. But we're going to attach this 1/2 inch on the other 1/2 inch score line, as you can see here. Okay? So what you want to do for that, you can use glue if you like. I am going to opt for score tape on this one. And I'm just going to run score tape right down next to that 1/2 inch and as far over. I don't want to go into that 1/2 inch score line, just right next to it. And I am going to tear, grab my tear tool here. All right. So now I have score tape on that 1/2 inch that I scored. And it looks like I got a string mixed in there. Whoops. Don't know where that came from, or a piece of paper. I want that out of there. All right. So then we're going to pull in that piece that we scored, and on that 1/2 inch score line where you did score it already, you want to put that, I'm going to opt to turn my scoreboard around. Make sure that you can see this in the camera. And you can. And we're going to take that 1/2 inch score line and we're going to adhere it to this 1/2 inch score line. So use your score line on this one as a guide. And don't go over the score line. That would be bad. And I think I'm going to enhance my score line just a little bit on this. It's a little light, and I want to be able to see it a little bit better. And craft cardstock, it's not quite as easy to see. So again, I'm just going to use the tape as a guide. And I'm just going to go right up to that score line. Not on top of it, not overlapping it. Just kind of let your paper lay natural, okay? And then we're going to burnish that down. And I did get it off just a little bit, but it should be okay. All right, I'm going to pull my scoreboard out of here for a moment, and we're going to do some folding. So we're going to score this line. And then the other one. I mean burnish, I apologize. I said score. All right, so there's that. This is going to become the front of your folio. All right, and then here we're going to score, or excuse me, burnish our first score line there. I need to get me one of those groovy flat Dress My Craft bone folders that everybody uses. I haven't got one yet, but I think I'm going to order one because I've seen people use them and they look amazing. So as you can see, this is going to be how this closes. All right. So you will have this perfect little thing. And when you use paper that has a decorative accent, which I did this on purpose on the magic of Christmas, these presents. So when it closes, you still see that fun little border of presents, even though that's the whole flap. So that is the base of this, okay? And so I just want to make sure that everything measures up properly on this. Grab my ruler and make sure I scored everything correctly. I feel like I might have got this one. No, it's right. Okay. All right. So that's our base. We're going to set that aside and we are going to make the accordion pages. So I'm just going to set this off to the side. And for the accordion pages, you're going to have 2 pieces that are 11.5 wide by 7.5 inches tall. And what you want to do with those is we're going to score them. And they're going to be scored at 1/2 inch first. And then at 6 inches. And what that gives you is 2 5.5 by 7.5 pages. And then this 1/2 inch is what we're going to use to adhere inside of our book. So do that with the other one as well. 1/2 inch. And 6 inches. So 1/2 and 6, and get a nice score on that. And then this one, for the Magic of Christmas one, I used a fancy corner punch. You don't have to do that. You can just do a regular rounded corner punch, or you can leave them square. It's totally up to you. So next, what I want to do is I want to bring in my base. And for the base, you can see where we have score lines here, okay? These are our accordions. We're going to burnish these down where we scored. Make sure they line up nicely because you want these to open smoothly and fold on top of each other smoothly. So you want to make sure. Now, you could leave it at this with 2 and only have 2. Or you can do what I did, and you can add your extensions onto that. And I will show you how I added the extensions to my accordions. Set that aside. We want to put another 5.5 inch so that it's just like mine. These pieces are going to measure 6 by 7.5. And you're going to take those and you're going to put them on your scoreboard with the 6 across the top, 7.5 going up and down. And we're going to score these also at 1/2 inch. On both of these. And this is just how I did. Now, like I said, if you want to just keep it with the 8 pages, 2 with 2, that's totally fine too, if you like less bulk. I'm going to do mine this way. So here is where we're going to add score tape on here, or glue, however you're doing it, and you just want to use the back side. I'm going to add some score tape. I'm going to use score tape for mine. Move that out of my frame for a moment. And I'm using the back. Oh, that score tape's a little big. I'm using the back side because I can see my score line a little bit better. And I want it to be adhered to the back. So I'm going to run this piece of score tape down. Grab my little tear tool. I'm just going to tear that off there. This is a really fun little folio that you can do fairly quickly. The decorating takes a little longer, and that's why I wanted to get to the tutorial and show you rather than waiting until I had that one completely embellished. I have been kind of out of commission for a couple days, and so I I didn't get to it quite as soon as I wanted to. So we're just going to line this up just like we did the extension on the base. You want to follow that score line, but don't overlap it. Line that up nice and straight. And you want to keep that score line because when this is in the book, we're going to want to fold this on the score line backwards, as you see here. And mine is going to be a little off if I don't fix it. So just want to make sure that it all lines up neatly before you burnish it. And for some reason, mine did not. But you can fix it just by holding it into place and then burnishing. So now we have one side done. And I will do the other one the exact same way. So I'm just going to go ahead and hope that I can save this, which it looks like I can. So this should have been put on the end that does not have a score line. This is your score line here. So again, I'm going to line that up at the 8, and I'm going to do this on the back side. And I'm going to put that right up against that score line, but I'm not going to go over it. All right, there we go. Now we have our fold this way and our fold this way is what you should have. I apologize for that error, but I am not perfect by any means. So there's your second one, and we need this, and it's gonna have a little sticky on it, I guess, because I kind of messed up. Okay, so now that you have your 2 accordion fold outs, what you're gonna do next, now for this one, everything is put on top of any decorative papers were put on top of these. So we want these in first. You want to put your accordions in first before you do. Now, if you want to decorate your accordions completely without having to do them in the book, you can do that and then add them. I, for the sake of video, am just going to add them to show you. And then my next video up will show you how I embellish those pages. So we're going to take the first one. And we want this to go. I'm going to look at my book just to make sure I don't make any more errors. The first one on this side is going to open up this way. So we need to adhere this so that we can fold in. So this is going to end up being, you need to take your 1/2 inch and get that burnished nicely. And it's probably going to stick a little on mine because I had that boo-boo. Put score tape to the back side of it. Once you've flipped that and burnished that 1/2 inch flap, you want to make sure you're on the back side. And this is how this is going to adhere into our book. Okay, and this could be either side, really. I mean, you just flip it the other way. So I'm going to bring my book in, and I'm actually going to bend my score line, that first score line right there, and I'm going to butt it right up in my scoreboard so that I make sure I get this on. Now, these are 7.5, and this is 8. So put this at 1/4 inch on your scoreboard. And then put the other end at the 7 3/4 mark. Okay, and just make sure that that's nice and straight and even. I'm going to re-burnish it just to be safe. And now you can see, I'm going to have to fix that with, once I get the paper in there, it won't do that. I'm going to go through it. I'm just going to burnish down the first fold in here too, just to make sure everything is nice and flat. And now you can see we have our first waterfall. Don't mind the little noise it's making. Now we're going to do the exact same thing with the other one on the other side. Fold in at your second your closest score line. And I'm going to butt that up in there. And then I am going to fold this back. And add my score tape. And just putting it in the middle, believe it or not, is enough. You don't have to have score tape that goes from side to side. Some people like it better that way. I find I don't need it. So I can use a little bit smaller score tape and not risk it overlapping and sticking to other parts that I don't want it stuck to. So let's take this score tape off the backing. And this one, which I actually have had upside down, it's written upside down. That's all right. We're going to put this in. Again, take this and put this with your tape side down up to that 1/4 inch mark on your scoreboard. Sorry if my head is on the screen. And then go over and get it onto that 3/4 inch. Make sure you've lined up and you're not overlapping. And mine slipped a little, so I'm going to pull that off. And, well, no, it's fine. All right, so we're just going to go and do the same thing. We're just going to burnish that down, burnish down our second line. And there you have your double accordion. Now let me open all this up. It's all tangled. And I will show you. So this is your flap. And we have this accordion and we have this accordion. And that is how you do. Now, if you are going to add the ribbon like I did, you can add it underneath. I will add something maybe a little different this time to show you a different way. But I will be back with how to do the embellishing of the cover and as well as the pages. Okay, so now that we have our accordion pages in the album, we're going to start decorating. But first I wanted to show you. So I mentioned about this string. And of course, I'm doing this video in segments. And I got thinking about it last night. And I really like the idea of a slider. If you've ever watched any of my videos before, you've probably seen a couple times where I've used a sliding belly band using some of the amazing little die cuts that you get with your Country Craft Creations collections, and some other collections have them as well. So I'm going to show you what I decided to do first, and then we're going to start building from the inside out, and we're going to build our inner triple pocket here first, and then we will go with the waterfall and continue from there. So I'm going to set this one aside, and I'm just going to show you what I did here. So I have two little pieces here. This is going to be my cover. Everything kind of put together because I like to cut everything out, put it together, and then I know where I'm going with my design. So I'm going to take some of this off so it's out of the way. This is my side panel. This is going to be a portion of my cover. And then we're going to have a wrapped chipboard just like I did on the other one there. Whoops, I missed the red. That needs to go with that. And then our back. This is from Little Gingerbread Man. I just love this Sugar and Spice paper. It's adorable. And what a fun gift. And you can make this folio in any paper you want. As I always say, this could be for any occasion. It does not have to be Christmas paper used here. So here's what I did. I took two strips that were 1.5 inches tall of the craft cardstock, and I was able to get up underneath my waterfall here and glue these down. And I gave myself a little bit of room when I wrapped it. So what I did is I closed the book, and then I wrapped this. Now, mind you, this is not decorated yet, so I want to make sure that I don't glue anything down except for this portion. So we have all of this play with these two. Basically, this was a 12-inch strip cut a little more than in half. So we had a little bit more on one side than the other. You can play with it however you want. And then these were slipped underneath those 1/2 inch flaps here on our back side. And then they were glued down, okay? So that's how I decided to do that. And we're gonna make a belly band. And I'm gonna cover that with this stripe paper, which is the reverse of your other cut apart die cut sheet. And we just wanna measure these out. And that is the wrong one. This one goes here. We wanna measure these out to fit. And then they will go on here once we get everything. And I could change my mind once I get the papers on here. We'll see how that goes. So let's start. I'm going to go ahead and open this all up, get our accordions out of our way. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to, these are easier to open. You can open them all the way out, but because your last one gets kind of stuck, you probably want to do it this way. And get those pinned out of your way so that you know you're working in this section here. So this is our middle section underneath of the accordions, okay? So let's get started. All right, so we want to start by building our pocket. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to grab a 6.5 wide by 8 3/4 inch tall piece of the craft cardstock. And we're going to want to do some scoring here. So we're going to score this at 1/2 inch. And we're going to score at 6, which will bring you in 1/2 inch from your right side. Okay? And then what you want to do is you want to score this so that you have 3 inches. We're going to need a, we're going to need a 3-inch pocket at the bottom. So we're at 8 3/4. So we want to go to 5 and 6, 7, 8. 5 3/4. That'll give us 2 6 3/4, 2 7 3. Yep. So we want to score this at 5 3/4. And that's going to give us that bottom portion that's 3 inches. Okay, and then we're going to do some cutting. So you're going to grab some scissors. And we just want to cut out a portion of this. So you need this. And you need these. But you don't need this bottom. So we want to miter our corners first. I'm going to miter that top corner. Miter that bottom corner. Or excuse me, the other top corner. And then for this cross section here where we scored at 5 3/4, you want to go in at an angle on both sides. I'm kind of going to cut a tiny little triangle shape out of this. So it'll look like so. Okay? You want to do that on both sides. Cut our little triangle out. And then you can go ahead and miter these corners as well. All right, so this is what you will have. So you have your 2 little triangles here, the top portion here, and this portion here. So what you want to do is these top ones, I'm going to turn this over because my writing, remember I said we want to cover our writing. So I'm going to fold from the top section, I'm going to take these 2 1/2-inch ones, these 2 flaps will get folded inward and burnished. And then this one is going to do the same. We're going to go, or excuse me, this one we're going to fold forward. On the smaller portion, you want to fold these 1/2-inch flaps forward. And then as you can see, when you put this up, that is going to give you this, okay? And we're going to put this on our page like so in the back there. And that's going to create our little pocket system. And I think, so this is 5 1/2 and this is 5 3/4. If you wanted to do it at 5 3/4 to make it so you don't have all the side pieces, you can do that as well. I'm okay with it having a little bit on the sides, but I want to put a piece of paper down here first so that you don't see it. So Let me grab a piece of paper, the decorative paper, and I'm going to put it, actually, I think I already cut one over here. I did. So that's going to be this Argyle is what I'm going to use. Nope, that's not cut for that. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I've cut a piece of the, I'm using Daredevil, my colors, but you can use whatever color you're using if you're doing a different paper collection. Whatever you're using for your matting can work here. You could do some white with this paper. The Tropical Splash works with this paper. This is going to measure 5.5 by 4, and it looks like about 5/8. But you can do this a little longer. You could do the whole page. It just depends. And the reason I'm doing this at 5.5 instead of filling up this area more is we have a 5 3/4 inch space between our accordion pockets. And I want to be able to put pictures and stuff on the pages, and you have to imagine that's going to bring some bulk, and I want to be able to close these nicely. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue down this red piece first. If I can get my glue jar open here, a glue bottle. And what I am going to opt to do here, now if you wanted yours to show when you close your pockets, you can. I'm going to leave that craft across the top there, just because you know what, actually I'm not, because we're going to add paper here, and I don't want that to be different. So we're going to go ahead and put this all the way up to the top, leaving just that little bit of space of the craft showing, and kind of try to center this. It's not, pick up your paper and just make sure you're centering everything. Burnish that down really good, especially where we have those gussets from the other pocket. And I'm not going to make this portion the pocket. I'm going to make this portion the pocket. So when I put this on, I'm only going to glue around the edge of this portion. So that is going to mean that I'm going to put glue down the left and right sides and across the bottom of this. And that's going to leave this open to be another little tucky pocket at the top. Okay? And you just want to put this on. And I want this, now more is going to show at the top, because I want this right at the top of my doors to my accordion. I don't want it to overlap it. So there we go. Just want to make sure I'm right up with my doors. If a tiny bit of it shows, that's okay. I just don't want a whole lot of it showing. All right. So then just burnish that down around those edges if you did it like that. Now, if you don't want this to be a pocket, you would just glue this whole paper down. Next, we're going to add our pocket. Let's assemble it first, the front and the back. Well, you know what? No, let's do it this way. Let's go ahead and put it on. So we're just going to add glue to those longer 2 1/2-inch gussets. And then we're going to, if I can do this without getting glue all over my hands, we want to line this up right at that bottom. I'm not going to let this overlap too much. So I want it should be right about the same size as the mat that I put up there. So only a tiny bit of that mat should show on either side. And you just want to unfold and burnish that down nicely. Okay, and then we're going to add our glue. Now you can put your piece here on first so that you don't have to slip it in. I'm using this red to kind of break everything up, and then this will have this one on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my red paper on, just so that it kind of, in case there's any overhang, it doesn't get in the way. If you have a little bit of overhang, which you should, from that bottom pocket, you don't want to take a chance of not being able to slip this in. So just line this up with that top paper on the sides. And that's what you'll have. Now you can add your glue to the gussets on the bottom pocket. And we're going to flip that up. And now I'll do some burnishing. Just to make sure everything is laying nice and flat. And then what we want to do is we want to go, as you can see here, this will go all the way through. So we want to make sure that we go right along here. And I probably should have just put the glue on the bottom, and I didn't. I forgot. So we just want to run along here with our glue and then burnish that pocket down. And then I'm going to put these two cute little gingerbread men on this bottom portion. Super cute. I love this paper. I love the colors. I love the whimsy. I think this paper probably was one of the biggest hits for the holiday season with Tamara's papers. For me, it was one of the biggest hits for Christmas paper all the way around, not just the Country Craft Creations papers, but for all paper. I just absolutely love the color scheme and everything on this paper. All right, so that is our bottom pocket, and we will add some things to this later, some inserts and such. For now, we're just getting our pocket decorated. And there you have your first pocket. So then let's go in and just go ahead and get our little belly bands decorated. And I am going to put this on. So I just, like I said, I cut from the stripes paper, which is the reverse of, if you have this collection, you get a set of die cuts, and you either get two sets, and you either got them already cut, one set, and then a sheet, or you got two sheets. And this is the reverse of one of those sheets. So I'm just going to slide this down and line it up. And burnish that down. And it's going to have a little roundness to it, which is good. You want that so that you can add things on your papers and have room for bulk if you need it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this side and put this one on. And then I will show you how we'll make this into a belly band. Well, how to make it into a slider, that is. First, I want to go ahead and get it finished on decorating. And that one got way off away from me, hadn't it? Okay. All right. Get that down. Again, you'll have to kind of push with maybe the end. If you have a flat bone folder, it probably will work better as far as making sure you burnish this end down, because it kind of wraps around there, the paper. And that can take a little bit of playing before you get it to go down all the way. All right. So this is going to be our sliding band. And I'm going to say that I prefer this on the top. So what I want to do is I want to take this is just a strip of paper that I had left over, and I'm going to put it under both bands like so. Okay. And I want to bend it, leave just a tiny bit of play because you want it to slide. Let me make sure that that moves, and it does. So once I have that, I am going to go ahead and pull it all the way down. And then pull this off. And I am going to glue this. Together. Now that I know what size I need, and I have that little bit, don't burnish this because you need that little loopiness to it. It needs to be a little bit round. To burnish this portion, just stick your fingers in the opening there and push down as much as you can. And then you just want to pick one of the cute little die cuts. I have a couple different ones here that I haven't quite decided which one I want to use yet. But it probably depends solely on what paper you're going to put on your first page. For this situation, I am going to put one on here, and then I'm going to match the paper. So we have Official Cookie Taster that could go on there. I mean, there's so many. This is a little too much blue for my taste. And then I have these cute little houses that I picked. And I'm going to go... I like this one better because it's a little larger. So we're going to do this one. All right. So I'm going to take this, and on the side that was glued, okay, the thicker side, you want to use that side down on your die cut. So glue that side. Let me get this out of camera. And glue this down to the middle of your die cut. And then just slip your bone. Again, you don't want this to get burnished down. You need that little loopy roundness to it. I'm not quite sure how to explain that. Hopefully that makes sense. Just run your bone folder inside of there so that you keep your little roundness to it and your shape, and you have that little extra. Okay. And then how this works, in case you haven't watched me do one of these before, is you're just going to slide it back on the band like so, and then overlap them. And I might have got this a little bit too long for this. Oh, there we go. And then you just put that all the way over, and there you have your fun little sliding belly band. I love doing these. I don't even remember where I ever first saw them. I don't think I invented it. It's probably been done before. However, I just started doing them one day and found that I just really, really like them and the way they work and the way they look. And it saves on magnets, which you can also use magnets here. You could put a magnet underneath your bands and then just put this at the end if you didn't want to do the sliding mechanism. So that is that portion. Okay, so let's move on to starting to decorate this portion and put our waterfall on. Okay, so for the waterfalls, let me figure out what I did with them here. I have a ton. I have all of my pages cut out for this, and I will tell you, just like I did this one, the outside will be double matted. The inside will be single matted. And that is to save on bulkiness. This is already very, very heavy for a book. I mean, it's not heavy, but we want to make sure that we can still put pictures and all the fun stuff in there. So you don't want to over bulk it up. Now, this is also where I want to decide if I want to round my corners on this. And I think just because there's a lot of roundness to the little gingerbread men and such, I'm going to go ahead and just do rounds. I'm not going to do the fancy round that I did there. So I'm just going to take my We Are Memory Keepers, and I am going to round at 7mm. If you don't have this one, you can do it in any roundness that you want, any size. So I'm just going to do my outer edges so that we have this and this like so, which is cute. And I probably will do the same with my some of my pages, if not all of them. So here's where we're going to do our waterfall. And I have cut for that 5 sheets at 4 1/4 by 6. We're going to grab a scoreboard. And you want to do each one of these at 1/2 inch. Okay? And like I said, you should have 5 of these. Put that on your scoreboard at the 6-inch side and score it 1/2. And we're going to do that for all 5 of these. And this again is using the Artisan Craft cardstock. Love this stuff. Craft, I think, is probably my favorite go-to for Christmas. I don't know why. I just love the I don't know how to explain it. I just love how it looks. And it looks good with just about any Christmas collection. So, all right. So now I have my 5. I'm going to do some mitering, or excuse me, rounding. I'm going to round the bottoms of these, all at that same 7mm. This is an option. You don't have to round them. You may want to die cut them with maybe those gorgeous Heartfelt Creations tag dies that you can get from Country Craft Creations. I have them and I love them. But for the sake of time, I'm going to just do corner rounding for this video. All right, so now we have 5. And a little trick that I recently learned, and I can't tell you who I learned that from either, is how to ensure that your waterfalls line up straight. And how we're going to do that is I'm going to grab a scrap of my craft cardstock, which I have this one where I cut the envelope wrong. And I'm going to cut it to that 4 1/4. Let me cut these tags off of here first. So I want 4 1/4, same size as my waterfalls. And then we have 5 waterfalls with a 1/2 inch tab. So that is 2 1/2 inches. So I'm going to go to 3. Now I have this little scrap of paper. That is 4 1/4 by 3. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to first adhere our waterfalls to this and make sure that we get them nice and straight. Okay? So burnish down all of your 1/2 inch score lines. Just get to all 5 of them. All right, so now I want to take the first one and I'm going to add glue to it. And you could miter these if you want. You don't have to. I am going to opt to do mine. Just miter that top flap. It's not essential. You don't have to do it. And then I am going to add glue. And I'm going to take this and fold it and go right up to the top of that piece of paper. And I'm going to burnish. Now, if you're somebody that gets things perfectly straight every time, I am not, then you don't need to use this method. But this works for me. So then we're going to go to our next. I'm going to go ahead and miter those corners. For me, this just saves. If I make an error and I have a crooked waterfall, I can remove these or cut that paper down and make it work for me better than if I put it in my book. Because if I put it in my book, it's in there permanently, and it could possibly damage the book. So I'm just going to bring this in, and before we burnish, we're going to look at it, make sure that everything is aligned. So you get a nice straight waterfall, and then we burnish. Once we ensure that everything is nice and straight and lined up on that piece of paper, then we burnish. Miter my corners. And add page 3. Make sure it's lining up. Once I have it nicely lined up, again, I'm going to burnish both on the top and underneath side. And on to the next. Almost done with this. It also gives you kind of a better guide. If you're putting this on a 5.5-inch piece of paper, and this is only 4 1/4, it's a little harder to figure out where your straight line is. I mean, you could mark it with a pencil or other methods, but this just, I have found, doing it this way, it works for me. All right, last one. Go ahead and miter that. As you see, you have a little bit left over. Just miter it down so that it matches the miters on the the flap that you did last. Okay. And as you can see, this is a nice straight waterfall already. I don't have to worry about lining it up because it's already nicely lined up for me. Except for my last page, looks a little wonky here, so I'm gonna, I can adjust it on this piece of paper a lot easier than if I had to do it in the book, if that makes sense. See? That's where I want everything. Give it a nice good burnish down. And there we go. There's our waterfall. Simple and easy. Okay. So now that our waterfall is assembled, we're just going to set that aside. You can decorate it before you put it in your book. You can decorate it after. It's totally up to you. So I am going to start with this page here. And like I said, I am only matting single on the inside. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have a page somewhere that I cut smaller because this first page is actually smaller than the pages. Okay, this is all my page stuff. So I need to find the piece of paper that I cut for this that is white. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so I have a piece 4 7/8 by 7 7/8 of white cardstock. And I'm going to use this as my mat. Okay. And I rounded those outside corners, which for this is the left side. I just want to get that in there good. And I'm going to get my other tool here. Smooth all that glue out of there nicely. Do that all the way around. I like to make sure that all of my glue gets, excuse me, pushed down really, really well. That way everything sticks nicely. So this is what we have here. Now on the original, I did a pattern paper, and I'm going to do that here as well. So we have 4 7/8 by 7 7/8. We're going to cut a piece of the paper 4 3/4 by 7 3/4. And I have this fun candy paper here. I am going to go in with my, and I inked the papers using black on my original. I'm not inking the papers on this at all. I just like, we could do it with Vintage Photo now that I think about it, but I didn't do it on the others. So, you know what? I don't think it needs it. I'm not going to ink this one because I like all that white. This is one instance that I kind of like the white core of the paper. All right, so we're going to put that one down on top of our white mat. Ooh. The paper's trying to go a little rogue on me today. You should have just a little bit of space of the white showing, not a whole lot. Again, my smoothing tool out. Get any of that excess glue off of there. All right, now we can add our waterfall, okay? So for the waterfall, you have your fun little paper here, and you want this to line up. So you're going to put your glue or score tape, whichever you're using. And you want to line this up. Remember that this is, let me check again. We have a 5-inch panel, and this is 4 1/4. So that leaves you 3/4. So you want to try to center this as well as you can. And I'm going to put it all the way up to that white paper. And that looks good. Straight. All right. And rather than open it yet, I'm going to go ahead and run this tool, my smoothing tool, down the waterfall, and then I'll go in and burnish all of this. And we'll turn it sideways as well and just burnish each individual waterfall page. And there you have that. So the waterfall is in, and you can, like, this is where you can decide if you want to do the sliding pocket like I did, which is just basically a picture corner here, and you will make this to match the size of this and then decorate it. Or you can do another one of these. You could do a magnet closure on this one, which I may do on this one instead of the picture corner. But I'm not sure what is going on here. A piece of paper that cut wrong or something. Okay. So, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did in the Magic of Christmas folio, and I'm going to put the little corner. Now, I want to show you how easy these are to make. This is just a picture corner. So you just take a scrap of paper, like so, and this needs to be a fairly large picture corner. So we're going to go in. And as you can see, I turned my paper. This doesn't have to be perfectly straight. And then we're going to take the other side, and I just like to hold this edge, and it should bring that other side. You don't want to overlap when doing this. And once we have it, and then we can do that. And then just turn it over. This is what you'll have. And we're just going to cut all this excess off. You can do it cleaner if you'd like. So then you just want to take your, before you put this onto the paper, so this is what you have, essentially. We're going to put this on our waterfall on the corner. And we're just going to kind of eyeball this because I want it to go right about where that white paper is, but I need to hold it down on the corner. Hope I'm in camera here. And make sure that I can remove my waterfalls from it, that they're not going to get too stuck. And that works. You can also do them more than one at a time. Oops, I'm slipping here. So now that I know that that's going to hold, I can glue it down, and then I can add paper to it to decorate it, to embellish it better. And I'm also going to trim just a little off because it's not quite perfect. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and add my glue to the back of this. So both of these little panels here, both triangles, need glue. Don't get too close to that middle line because you don't want to glue it down to the page itself. Hold it like so, so that you have your angle going this way. Slip it up over your waterfall. Don't get any glue on your waterfall. And then we're just going to pull this down right up to where that white paper line is. Okay. And we will burnish, and then I'm going to remove my waterfall, and I'm going to burnish it a little bit better from that end. So I have a paper clip under there. That's not good. I was wondering why it wouldn't let my paper lay down. I got this a little off, but that's all right. There is no perfection going on here. And then you can just take a piece of scrap paper. Once again, I love to use up my scraps. I can't say it enough how much I like to use up my scraps. So I'm looking over here off to the side to see what I have for scraps. And I'm going to use, I have this lovely little piece here, not big enough. I'm going to use this red piece here. And I am going to see, so this was about the same size. You just kind of need to make a template for yourself when you're doing this and just measure it out. I'm going to cut this straight from here. Here we go. I'm just going to add some glue. You could also use a die cut to embellish your little corner pocket here too. Easy peasy. All right. So there is my little corner pocket to hold down our waterfall. And it's fun because you could actually tuck something under the waterfall and still get your waterfall in there. Now, as for this here, we will go back and cover this up with paper. So don't worry about that. That will get covered. And then we're going to also decorate the waterfall. But for now, I'm going to slip all of these in here just to show you how easy that is. All right. Nice. Now let's go to this panel here. Let's go ahead and get this inside panel done. Okay, so for the outside inside of the panel, we have a 2 7/8 by 7 7/8 piece of the white for our matting. Again, we're only single matting the inside. All right. Smooth all that glue out. And then I've taken a piece of the one with the cookies. It has the plaid on the back, and this is 2 3/4 by 7 3/4. Again, I'm going to round those corners, and on this one, it would be on your right. Add my glue. Put that on top of it. There we go. And another little tip, when you're using a smoothing tool like this, if glue pops out, have a, which I normally do, a cloth of some sort ready at your reach so that you can just wipe that glue away rather than pushing it with your tool. All right, so we have that panel decorated. So fun. So again, this is going to go together like so. We're going to have our ribbon closure, and we will save that for the last. We're going to decorate our waterfall next. So now I've cut out some pieces for the waterfall, and I had some leftover different glitter stalks from a pad that I had from a long time ago. And I wanted to use it up, and it just happens to look great with this paper. So I have gold that I'm using on the cover, and I'm going to use this blue and white because it goes so well, especially with this paper here. So for my waterfall covers, I've cut these pieces of the glitter stalk. I have 3 in white and 2 in the teal color, and these measure 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then the bottom corners are rounded to match these. And I'm going to put those white, blue, white, blue, white. Okay? So that's what I will be putting there. And then in between these, we are going to add some paper to cover our little gussets from when we did our mitering. And we're going to cover this as well with one of the cut-aparts. So here are the cut-aparts. The smaller ones that you get. So you could put any of these here. I mean, adorable. That one's cute. We also have this one that is lengthwise, and it could go there as well. These work perfectly for covering up stuff like that. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this gingerbread one. I really like the way this one looks. And if you wanted to be able to slip like a little tag in here, you could do that by just adding some cardstock to the back of this, and then only adhering it as a pocket rather than it all the way around. So you would just adhere here, here, and here, and then you could slide something in there. For this, I'm just going to decorate it. And that, I lost my towel here. Here we go. I'm going to get this all burnished down. Look at that, super cute, and it kind of matches over here with this one when you open it. And I'm going to lay my waterfall pages down, and I'll be right back. All right, so now you can see I got all of that glitter cardstock that I had on my waterfalls. And these will, again, you just kind of slide them just a little bit to the left, give them a little pull, and they pop right out of there. Again, I will be adding some paper here, but I want to get to the pages and the cover and such. So let me just show you what I started for this inside. I added these two 3/8 by 7 7/8 inch strips of scrap into that 1/2 inch spine piece, and make sure that you do not go over the score line on either side, or those will not close properly. Then I have this all set up, and then I'm just going to go ahead and decorate the pages. I will tell you each one of the mats for the pages are, and I've used all red and white on the inside. They are going to measure 5 3/8 by 7 3/8. Is that, let me see here. Yes, by 7 3/8. And then the cardstock, or excuse me, the paper collection, these decorative papers are going to be 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. Okay, if you're doing it this way. If you don't want to do any matting, you don't have to. If you want just the decorative paper, then do these at that 5 3/8 by 7 3/8 and put them on there. Unless you want to see that much of the craft or whatever color you're using in the background, then you can do them at the 5 1/4 and leave that 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Some people like that look. I like a little smaller. So that is how I did that. So those are the measurements. And I'm going to slide my little cookie belt over here, and I probably will decorate the inside of this as well. And so my first page I finished, and it has this fresh baked on it. And I've lined this up so that I have a red mat here, a white mat here, and a red mat here, and then a white mat again, okay? And then when I turn this way, red mat, I have white mat, red mat, and that is how that one will work. And then on this one, I chose to put this paper. I like this one as the peekaboo. You can kind of see a little bit of it there off to the side. And we will have white here. And then we will have a red piece for our mat and a white piece here. And on the other side, the same thing. We have red, white, and then red. And we will make some inserts for our little pocket page back here, which has this pocket, as well as this pocket. Okay, so that's what's next, is just to add some fun pockets. I'm going to go ahead and embellish all my pages. I don't think I need to glue page by page with you, and then I will show you how I do the pockets that go on some of the pages, and maybe a couple little flips and flaps. All right, so next I'm going to show you how I do this fun little wrapped chipboard piece for the cover, for the cut apart. And I'm going to show you real quick how I do that. So what I have here is a piece of the paper that I've chosen as a background. Sometimes I do this on solid like I did on the Magic of Christmas one. Sometimes I choose a piece of paper from my scraps. This is the stripe, which is the reverse of your cut apart in this instance. So what we're going to do here, I know that my chipboard, so my cut apart piece is going to be this one, and it measures, it's been cut down to measure 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. And then I'm going to have this gold glitter as a mat. And so that's going to be 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. And then our chipboard piece, like I said, is 4 by 6. So I want to wrap this first. Okay. in this paper. I've chosen this stripe, like I said, and this is going to be a 5 1/4 by 7 1/4 piece. And what we're going to do here is we are going to grab a bone folder, and I'm going to score this on this side. So we have 1/2 inch, and then we're just going to turn it. We want to score it 1/2 inch on all sides. Okay. And I think that is a little big. It is. I'm not quite sure. So once we do our turning, that will be actually fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and glue this down. I'm going to put some adhesive on my chipboard. And you can cut this so it's exactly 1/2 inch all the way around your chipboard, which would be 5 by 7. I did the extra 1/4 inch just because I like it to wrap a little bit around, and I'm using heavyweight. If you were doing this with a lighter weight chipboard, you wouldn't need that extra little 1/8 of an inch, but I want it to wrap around my chipboard. You can also adhere this to the paper first. If you're wanting it to dry a little faster, you can use score tape or a Xyron machine. So I am just going to place that right in the middle of those score lines all the way around. So as you can see, hopefully, my score line is right over here. So when this wraps, it gives me a little bit of space to wrap around that chipboard. So I'm just going to flip that over. Excuse me. And I am going to burnish all that glue down so I get a nice and smooth surface. Okay. And then just like when you're doing a lay flat album, I am going to actually move this out of my way here. We want to bend all of our folds around so that you can see those lines of right where your chipboard paper covers your chipboard and where it crosses, so we can miter those corners. So then we're just going to take scissors and we are going to miter those corners. Leave just a little bit at the corner so that you make sure everything gets covered. Those can always be pushed in. And again, I'll get those out of the way. And then I'm just going to move my scoreboard here out of the way for a moment. And we are going to add glue right along up against that chipboard. Again, that helps it wrap around. And then I am going to do a little pushing. I want that to come up and wrap. I don't want it to have any excess hanging over. Grab a cloth here. Get rid of any glue that I might have seeping. See, and that gives you that nice wrapped around look. If we were to just cut this to 5 by 7, you might not have enough chipboard, or excuse me, paper to wrap around the chipboard. And I like that nice smooth finish. I'm going to do that on the other side. I'm going to do my 2 long sides first, and then I will do my 2 short sides. And I'll get rid of that glue that's seeping out of there. And then just check your corners. Make sure to push down any excess paper that's overlapping so you don't get a little bump in there. And you can do that with your bone folder or your fingernail. I really don't have fingernails, so I use my bone folder. And then we're going to do the same thing on those end flaps. Just glue in that right up at that edge of the chipboard. And then around. And then I'm just going to make sure that wraps around nicely and give it a little pull. As you can see, that gives you a really nice finish, nice and square finish. And I'm going to do the same on the last one. And I just glued my desk. Whoops. Get that nice little push down. Make sure there's no excess glue. And then I'm just going to take my bone folder and just smooth all that glue that was put up against the chipboard out. Get a nice flat finish all the way around. Couple passes on the back side of a bone folder does wonders. And you see how nice and straight and cohesive that looks. Next, I'm going to add my gold. I have this gold fancy glitter stock in my stash that I am going to be using, and then that will have our picture. And I'm also using this gold glitter paper on my covers as some of my mats. Okay. All right, so now you can see how that looks. Super cute. Now we're going to take this trim, and I am going to do this portion. Now this is going to cover a little bit of your gold, but not all of it. We just want to make sure that we cut all of our pieces. I'm going to cut this little kind of frayed end off, and I'm just going to use the trim itself to measure where I need to cut. So I need to cut here. I want it to overlap just a little on the ends because they're going to put it together kind of like a corner. So I need two this size. I'm just going to use the trim itself to measure. You can measure with a ruler and do it exact if you like. And then that's my top and bottom. And then I am going to see what type of length I need for this portion. So right here, I'm going to cut, and then I am going to line it up and cut another one the same size. I'm getting it all tangled here. All right, so I'm going to put that away, and I will show you. So this is fairly thick if you're using the trim that I have here that's from the store. I'm just going to dot along those upper and lower kind of mountain looking the zigzags, just all along the zigzags with my art glitter glue. And then I am going to place this on my cover here, all the way over to the corner, and then just straighten it out. So you see, whoops, like I said, it's kind of tricky. You could use the cloth version of this glue probably, but I do not have any, so I'm going to stick with what I have. And once you have that straight as you want it, just let it kind of sit there for a moment. I'm going to do one of my long pieces now. You can also put the glue right along here. If you know this is where you're going to put it, you can just put some glue here. It does dry clear if you're using art glitter, so you don't have to worry about that. And I'm just going to kind of dip this in and put this down as I go. Like I said, it is kind of a tricky process. And then that one is a little bit off, so I'm going to push that over just a bit. And I'm going to go back up underneath of here and just add a little bit more glue. And do the same thing on the other side, just to be sure that we are down. Once we have it all where we want it, then you can do that. And then just go along with your finger and just make sure everything is down. If you find a spot that's lifting, you can always put some glue up underneath of it. Okay, so that is how you wrap the chipboard that we will use. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. and we are going to decorate the rest of this folio cover. Now, I have already adhered most of the pages. The belly band system with the slider, I added a magnet under here and under here. And the reason for that is I just wanted to make sure that when there was all the papers in here and once somebody had added their pictures or whatever they're putting in here, that this would close even better than just with this. It will close with just the slider, and it gives you that room, but I don't want to. The reason for this being longer than this side is so that you have room for it to grow, and you still can use this belt. Now, I've also cut some of I cut 6. So 6 of our pages will be blank and 6 will have pockets. So these 6 pieces were cut from pieces I had, and I cut all of these down from, mostly from scraps that I had left over, and these are 2.5 tall, and they're 5 1/4 wide, just like our pages. And the 2.5 tall is for the pocket. And these will just be tuck pockets, but we're going to go through and put a little cut in. And if you don't have the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board, which is what I use, you can use a round punch just as easily to get that little notch in your pockets. So I have 2 more to add. I will show you what I did here really quick, and then we'll do the cover. So I went through and I just kind of added papers. Oh, I guess I didn't add them all yet. I have several to do. So I've added the papers. I just kind of went through and decided what I thought looked really good together. That's how I did it. And when I put my mats, I will show you this too. This first one that I did was white. So I put a red mat here and a white mat here. On the back, we have red, white, red. And I've got all my pages in here. They're just kind of sticking everywhere. Let me get these out of here. And on the other side, I did the same thing as well. So our first page here has a red mat. We have white, red. And on the back, white, red. Okay? Easy peasy. So I'm going to close this up for right now. And we are going to decorate. And again, I will tell you the pages for the covers, if you are matting them like I did, your mats will be 5 3/8 by 7 3/8, and your decorative papers will be that 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. Okay, and if you're doing it with all 12 pages, you will need 12 pieces of this and 12 mats. If you choose not to mat, then just do your decorative papers at 5 3/8 by 7 3/8. Okay. All right, on to the cover. Let's do this. So I'm going to lay this flat, and then when we get to this side here, we may have to kind of maneuver stuff a little bit differently so that it moves around easily. So we're going to start with the front. This is the cover of our album, and I have everything cut out up here that I'm going to use. So this is a side piece, and these are side pieces. This is the back, and the back, and the back. And then these are my pages that I need to adhere. And here we have the cover. Okay, so what I've chosen to do for the cover is that red as my mat, and this is 4 7/8 by 7 7/8, and the outside corners are rounded. Remember, this is our cover. Actually, this is upside down, I do believe. No, it's right. Okay. Always make sure that the orientation of your book is right, or you will kick yourself later. So 4 7/8 by 7 7/8. And then I have that gold. You can use anything you want to mat. You can choose not to double mat, and then you would just do your next piece, which would be these pieces, the wider. So this is going to be 4 3/4 by 7 3/4. This is my gold mat. And then we have this gorgeous paper here, which I accidentally rounded the bottom corner and I didn't need to, but the ribbon closure is going to cover that. So it's totally fine. This one I did at 4 5/8, and I did it 5 inches tall, and that will be the top portion. And then for the bottom portion, I chose this, and I just rounded that bottom corner. And we have 4 5/8 again. And this is 2 5/8 inches tall. And that will go down here. And I'm looking at this, and I'm not sure that that ribbon is actually going to cover that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut another piece off camera of this paper without that bottom rounded corner. And I'll be right back. All right, so I cut a new piece of the 4 5/8 by 5, and I am just going to corner around the very top corner this time. And that will set better on our paper. So I'm going to arrange this so you can see how this will work. And then I'm just going to glue it down off camera. Okay? Because technically our ribbon will be in the middle, so it wouldn't have covered my little boo-boo there. My ribbon is going to go underneath this piece. And that puts it on top of your paper. The back side, it'll go under the paper. But for here, I wanted it on the top portion. Actually, I can't remember. Let me see how I did this one. I think I wrapped it all the way. Yeah, it doesn't go under the paper at all. So we just put it under this here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue down my, I'll just go ahead and do this on camera. I'm going to glue down my first mat, which is the red. And I will tell you, while I'm gluing this, that I had a little bit of trouble decorating the pages in my album after putting them in, the accordion pages. So I think if you were to decorate your pages prior to putting the units all together in the album, it might be a little bit easier. Everything lays a little flatter, and you're able to do them one at a time. It's a little trickier getting everything in there. You kind of have to move things back and forth, and I think I would have preferred not to have to do that. So if that doesn't bother you, great, you can put them in first. But if it bothers you, I would suggest assembling your pages, and that would mean that you wouldn't assemble that middle section with the pockets until you were done with your pages and have them in. So now I'm choosing to use this gold. And I am going to place that, leaving some of that red showing. I just liked the look of this gold with this paper. I'm not a huge fan of glitter, except for at Christmas time, of course. But these papers, if you look, there's all these little gold flecks. In this one, there's some in the red. Most of this collection has these little flecks of gold in it, and this really brings them out, and that's why I chose to do that. Put my first piece on here. This is the top again, 4 5/8 by 5. I'm going to put that down to make sure that rounded corner is up at the top. Right. I'm also going to be doing, when this is posted, I will be starting a quick tutorial on what to do with all these lovely scraps and leftovers of Christmas papers. If you have the time and you have all the scraps and you have some dies or some embossing folders or any of that type of thing in your stash, like a lot of us do, we can make some really fun, quick gift cards and gift tags for your gift giving. And use up those scraps. And you can really make some gorgeous tags. I mean, anybody can go out and buy those fun sticky tags that have been around forever and ever and slap them on a package and write a name on them. But there's something just a little bit more special when you actually take the time to make a special tag if you have it, and people love that. So yeah, I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to take the white seam binding that I have here. I'm going to clip this end off first, and I'm going to add, this is how I'm going to keep it from fraying. I'm going to add just a little bit of that art glitter glue at the bottom, and then I'm going to fold this ribbon over. And I'm just going to squish it. And yes, you will get it all over your fingers doing this, but this is going to keep that end from fraying. And I want to take my book, now that I have my cover, and I want to close it the way it's going to close, which is like so. And I'm going to place this down. Now we want this to tie right in this area, okay? So make sure you have enough, I would say, where'd my ruler go? I'm going to leave an overhang off to this side. I want this to go in a little, so that you have a nice square. If you hold it like this, you can see that this is squared up. So I'm going to take this, and I want enough to have a bow, depending on what size bow you want. I'm going to leave about 6 inches of overhang here, okay? And I'm just going to take a piece of score tape. Not a really big piece, just enough. And I'm going to place it down about where I want that ribbon. Doesn't have to be directly in the middle. Mine is not. And I'm going to pull that off. And then I am going to place my ribbon on top of that. Now, that's just to hold it in place. When we put the cover on, it will adhere this all the way down. So then, as straight as you can, pull your ribbon around the edge here and line it up with this one. And remember, we're going to be tying at the top. So we just need that same about 6 inches. I'm going to cut a little more so I can fix it from fraying. And I'm going to set the rest of that aside. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did with the other. I'm just going to take a little bit of art glitter glue, dab it on the ends, and fold it over. And if anybody has any suggestions on how to keep, other ways to keep the ribbon from fraying, I would love to hear them. This just works for me. It doesn't mean you have to do yours that way. So let's go ahead and tie this and just make sure that we have this in a good position. I'm going to kind of pull the book towards me, and then I can do my tying real quick here. Make sure I have enough ribbon and that it looks nice. Yes, I like that. Okay, so now we're going to go on and we are going to finish the rest of the cover. I'm going to open this all up, set it on here. We're also going to cut some more of those 3/4 by 7 7/8 inch strips from one of my scraps. I think I'm going to use the rest of that striped paper that I have, that is the back side. I think that would make really nice pieces for that. So next we have our back. And our back is a larger portion. So it is, the paper here is going to be 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. This is our first mat. So 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. Okay. And that will go down first back here. And I always want to put my paper on and eyeball it just to make sure that I cut it correctly, or that my cutter cut it correctly. I don't want to get all the glue on here and then have to waste cardstock because it dries on there and I can't use it. Okay, so put this down. Hopefully I'm all the way in the camera here. Craft is kind of hard to see on my desk. I wish my stand-up desk was a darker color so that this really popped. Unfortunately, it is not. So we are going to pull this down. I just want to make sure that I am not going over my score line. and that I have this as straight as possible. And this piece, again, if you did your waterfalls, now what you can do is you can pull this open and pull your waterfalls out. You'll have to pull them all the way out because they don't bend this way. So you can pull them out this way and then pull the other one out as well. And then you get this a little flatter, as you can see. It's kind of hard to see it all in camera, but you get the idea. You just pull your accordions completely out all the way on both sides, and then this is a little flatter for you. And I'm not getting as much glue in here as I would like. I think it dried a little too quick. So that is the glory of these tips. These tips are amazing, and you can get them from the Country Craft Creations store. And they make a big difference on how much glue you get out. They also make a great tool for slipping right underneath when you don't have quite enough glue. And it doesn't cause any issues with your paper. All right, so that is that. I'm going to take a gold sheet now. This is my gold glitter once again. And this will be the 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. I'm going to set that on there first, make sure that it looks good. And then I can glue. All right, let's get that glitter stuck all down. Just how nice that gold, little bit of gold, just brings out the gold in the paper. That's why I used it. I chose to use the white and the blue on the inside on my waterfall rather than the gold, just so I got a little bit more color. So we have that. Now this one I've cut at the bottom with a gingerbread man on the bottom, so this will be our back, and we won't need to embellish this anymore because we have this lovely, you could do this side if you wanted to, and add something. We will have our ribbon that wraps around this as well. And I will say, if you're using glitter stock, use extra glue on whatever's going down on top of it, because sometimes, at least the stuff I have, I don't know where I got this, it was in my stash, but sometimes they like the glue to stick to it, is what I have found. And I know it's not the glue, because our glitter glue is amazing, but sometimes I have trouble with it sticking, so I make sure I add a little extra glue to my pieces that go on top of the glitter paper. Just going to smooth all that glue out of there just to make sure. And there we have our back. Lastly, we have our fun little panel here. This is our smaller panel, and I have cut, again, the red and part of this because it goes nicely with it, and then the gold. And these are all rounded on the edge that is rounded of our cover. So the red is 2 7/8 by 7 7/8. And again, I just placed it down there just to make sure, double check my own measuring, and it looks like I didn't, oh my goodness. Okay, I didn't round my other corner. There we go. Now it's rounded. Not sure how that happened. Okay, put this down. Nice and even. Okay, and next I'm going to do gold. Let me see if I have both my corners rounded. I do. So the gold piece here is going to be 2 3/4 by 7 3/4. Make sure that's going to fit. Yep. All right. All right, and then our last piece, which is the back side of this, I do believe. No, it's the back side of, no, it's part of this piece right here. So the 12 by 12, when you cut this, it's up in here without the gingerbread. And this is going to be 2 5/8 by 7 5/8. Make sure it fits, and it does. I just love this paper. The colors are some of my favorite Christmas color scheme. And all the candy. Kind of reminds me of my childhood when my grandmother always had the Starlight mints. All right. Push that over. And there is our cover. I'm going to go off camera really quick and cut the pieces 3/4 by 7 7/8 pieces that need to go here. And now that I'm looking at it, I think that's a lot of turquoise. I'm probably going to do something in red. So I will be right back. Okay, I went ahead and cut some of the red polka dot like this here. And I'm going to do this one here. And I apologize. These are not the same goes for the ones on the inside. These are not 3/4 of an inch wide. They're 3/8. So they're, because our spines are 1/2 inch, these need to be 3/8 of an inch wide by 7 7/8 of an inch long. And we are just going to run some glue right down there and put that down. Now I'm not matting the spines. I'm just putting this decorative paper on. There's no need to mat. You can if you choose to, if you want to cut pieces that tiny. I am good with just the polka dots. I like them. And I could see that my paper would be upside down if I did it that way. So just kind of line it up with that first mat. So the red mat on the bottom there is what you want to line it up with so that it all looks nice and cohesive. And then we will close this up. Do this very carefully. You don't want to bend up. As you saw, I just dropped mine. So I'm going to go and I'm going to fold. So first, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to fold this one in first. This is how I folded the first one. So in to that first white mat. So white mat meets white mat, red mat meets red mat, and so on. Okay? And that just makes it a little easier to open and close. I am going to pull this open here and put my little... Yeah, now I'm going to also cover the backs of these. I almost forgot. I guess I should probably do that. I'm so sorry. So for the backs of these, we are going to cover these in paper as well and cover those magnets. Let me see what I need to cut here. So I'm going to be about 5 1/8. So I'm going to cut 5. And then the band that I made, yours may be a little bit different size depending on what you chose. 1 1/2. So I'm going to do 1 3/8 by 5 on this one, and 1 3/8 by 3 1/8 on this one. Okay, so I cut some more pieces from that same polka dot paper. And I am going to round my corners that are on the ends. This is this one. So I'm going to go ahead and round those so they match. And on my magnet here, I have put some score tape to hold it down. So I'm going to peel that off. And I just want to burnish that really well around that magnet. I need my bone folder. I'll use this one. It's a nice softer one. Just to get around that magnet. This one has kind of a flatter edge to get around things. I don't want my magnet to pop through, but I want to cover it. So I'm going to do these ends. Corner rounder. This polka dot paper works really well, and I had lots of it. So I'm just going to burnish really well around that magnet. Once again, I don't want to pop it through the paper, but I want to make sure it holds. So now we have that done. I'm going to go ahead and slip this back on. Okay, so that is that. Let's go ahead and close the book so you can see how it looks. Now, if you wanted this to be adhered to the back, you could adhere it. I am not going to do that. I am just going to tie this closed. And bring my ribbon up. And tie my bow. Fix it a little because it looks a little disheveled there. And if you find that you have more here than you want, you can always pull it and then cut it off. Okay, so now that I have that, I want to make sure that my ribbon is nice and straight. And this is dry now, as you can see. So we're going to bring that in and we're going to glue that down right on the cover. So cute. I love this paper, and this folio is adorable. My daughter will probably try to steal it because she likes this color scheme too. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And then I will show you what I mean by the notches in our little pockets. Do one of those to show you once this is dry, because this will need to be left alone for a fairly decent amount of time. You could also put it on here with hot glue if you feel that to be better, because it will glue faster. I'm just going to get this on here. I'm going to use this bottom row of dots here to help me in this. I'm going to push that down. Grab a couple clips. I don't know if these clips, no, these ones are not long enough. I don't think I have any long enough, so I may have to put a weight on here. And this does not look even to me. Let me make sure everything is straight before you clip it, if you're clipping. So maybe just a little. All right. So I'm going to flip this open. Now you could also add one of these fun little strips that comes with the paper on here. And then when you close this, you would see that candy, which is super duper cute. I might do that later. So let's grab some of these pockets here that I made. And again, these are 5 1/4 wide, like the pages, and then they are 2.5 inches tall. All right, and these are just gonna be tuck spots. And we're gonna do this on half. For mine, I'm doing half the pages. So I don't want it on the first one. I want it on the second one, I believe. No, that's the other page. It will be the first one. So we're going to do the polka dots. So I am going to, and just grab your pockets that you make and see which one you like the best. And I would suggest closing this up so you can see. So I could do the stripes, I could do the polka dots, or I can do the, and I think I'll actually like the stripes with that stripe. And it's more blue. So I'm going to do the blue stripes. I'm going to open this up. Let me grab my punch board to show you what I was talking about. So if you have the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board, you have the ability to use it to make these little notches without having to use a different punch. If you don't have this, you can use a hole punch, or excuse me, a circle punch. We know that this is, again, 5 1/4. So you want to go 2 1/2, so 2 3/8. So we're going to go right here, and that's one of the reasons I like using this, because that tells me that that's the middle. So 5 1/4, 2 1/2. Oh, it's 2 5/8, sorry. So we're going to go right there, and we know we're at the middle. Now I have my cute little notch for my pocket. And I did these on every other page. So you will need to do them however it works for you. If you want that many pockets, you don't have to put that many pockets. You could put flaps on your pages. There's just all kinds of things. So line your pocket up. As you saw, I glued only around the sides and across the bottom to make a tuck pocket. I'm going to go just to the paper. Line it up with the decorative paper underneath and burnish it down. Get a little extra glue there. And there you have your first tuck pocket. Don't try to mess with it until it dries, because they will pop up on you. So I have a pocket here. I won't put one here. I'll put one here. And I will put one in the middle on this side. So that gives us 3 pockets on each side. You can do more, you can do less. It's totally up to you. It's your book. So we're going to slide that over. And now, as you can see, when we put something behind here, you will see that, and it'll kind of break up that stripe. You could also, again, with this fun little strip, which I may do, just put that there. And then, of course, we have all of our fun little die cuts that I will be adding to this book. But so that is how to create the double accordion folio. I hope that you guys make one of these, because it's super fun. And I will remind you that you don't have to do the extension. If you just want 2 pages on each side for a total of 8, then that is totally fine too. It'll be less bulky. I liked adding it on and having the 6. And again, I will show you the folding that makes this a lot easier is when these are pulled out. And I'm not going to be able to see them all in camera, but hopefully you can get the idea. So the side to the right is what I put in first to that white mat. And then I do this white mat, and then the red on top of red, and I fold over. And that makes everything work really, really well inside of there. And then I just slide that over, and there you have that. Super fun little folio to make. So, and this is a little crooked. I'm going to have to fix that. Just realized. Okay. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and if you have this paper, you must make this, because it's just absolutely adorable. It'd make a great gift for someone. You can add the recipe cards that are available. I will show you those in the pockets, which I may actually do, and you will have seen my completed album with all of its decor, decorated pages at the beginning of this tutorial. So those recipe cards look like so. And you can take these and back them on something. They do have a flip side, but you can always do like a card where you take one, put it on the outside, and then put it onto cardstock, and then put the other one on the inside for directions, and then slide them in there. Okay? So I hope you have a wonderful, crafty holiday season. Thanks. And remember, subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing those giveaways.